Hi, this is Derek Henry with XLEV8 Consulting, and in this how-to video, we're going to talk about a really helpful macro called the Copy Special Picker. Now, to run this, the default keyboard shortcut is Control-Shift-C, and it's going to present you with several different options, much like the couple other dozen picker-based macros, just like this one. Now, what we're seeing here is a variety of commands that are going to help you do things quicker, that are either going to extend the functionality of Excel or just give you shortcuts to combine steps or to find something, an obscure function, much more easily. So let's go through the different options you have here. Now the first one's going to copy the formula of the active cell. So this one right here has a formula. You can see that up here in the formula bar. When we run this and click F, it's going to copy that entire formula just as a string of text, not with any relative references. It's just going to copy the whole thing. So if we go somewhere else, it's, like you see here, just going to copy that again. A lot of people find this helpful for documenting the formula, maybe copying it to a cell comment or something where it doesn't really matter if you need to change the referencing, or just literally copy the formula as it exists somewhere else. Now the next one, let's say you have a bunch of different formats here. We're going to select the cells with the formats we want. We're going to run this again and see option P, the second one here. That's going to copy formats. It's going to mimic the format painter, so it's going to be just like clicking the button up here in the ribbon. So you see the marching ants around the cell range, and if you press the arrow keys or if you click anywhere in the document, it's going to apply that. It only applies it one time. There's no way to programmatically double click that format painter. I'm going to show you a way to do that later on. I'm going to undo that so it's not terribly distracting, but that's one of the options if you want to copy just formats. Now the next one, this is pretty helpful. I use this all the time, and that's why it's my default option, is option S, the sum of visible cells. So down here you see how it says the sum is 58 because that's what we've selected. I'm going to leave this here because remember the default picker option, you don't even have to press, it highlights it for you so you can override it, or just press enter to run it. So I'm going to press enter, and that 58 is then copied as raw text into the keyboard. So if we go somewhere else, we can copy that 58. Now, if we were to select a bunch of cells and do the same thing but with an M, it's going to add currency format. So a $, commas, into decimals. So below this, you see how it's 45 because we selected $45, or 45 was the sum of all the values, and it added the currency formatting for us. Now, if you select anything that is not numeric and you run this, so option S here, instead of it copying the total, I mean, now you've got a text figure in there, it can't add anything there. So it's going to prompt you for what kind of delimiter to use. The pipe character is often a really good delimiter because it's not really used for anything in terms of text, not very often anyway. So I usually just use that, but you can override that as your default option or anything else. And it's going to take all these values, this one and these 15 or so here, and you see how it put a delimiter in between them, that pipe character. A lot of times people need to use that. Copy something and split it apart. So you could put any character that you want there, a space, a comma, whatever makes sense. Now, next one's a little bit different. So let's say you have a bunch of characters, and instead of those being separated, you want to put them into a formula. So option V here, that's what we're going to run. It literally is going to put those together, and you see how it just made a formula out of them and connected them with plus symbols. That's all it did. Sometimes people want to take all these values they have and plug them into one formula so that they have that. That's one way to do it. Now, similar to what we just saw when text is found, let's say you purposefully want to take all these values, whether they're numeric or not, and put a delimiter with them. So put a D here, the instructions here tell you can add a delimiter, such as that pipe character. Again, that's recommended. We run that, it's going to do the same thing like this one did, only we didn't have that paste special in there. So even if they're all numeric and you still want to put a delimiter in there, that's what option D is for. Now let's say we have a named range here. We're going to type that in. Okay, so, I actually did that earlier, I forgot about that. So we've got this random range name as our range name. Let's say we want to copy that to the clipboard. That is going to be option N here. So we run that. This name is going to be copied to the clipboard, so you can include that anywhere else. Normally that would be in a formula, but it could be anywhere. If it's one cell, it could be a range of many cells. It'll copy that range name. Now, if you want to get the range address of some cell, so say this one here is Q22, we're going to run option R, and you're going to see how it puts it in the clipboard, right? So here's Q22. Let's say we also want to add the sheet name. We're going to run that, click R and S. Okay, so it's going to put the sheet name before it. Now, if you wanted to run this and put the entire workbook and the sheet name in there, put RB for book. You're going to see how it just kind of builds on that. So you've got the file name as well. Sometimes you want to include that in formulas. It's an easy way to do it. If you want to go a step further into the whole file path and you want to get the path and the file name in the same place, that is option T. Click that, and you'll see how it adds the entire thing in there. Now let's say you want to have a bunch of cell addresses, so you've got several of these, and for whatever reason you want to copy that somewhere. Maybe you're going to reference those somehow. A lot of times this works well with the indirect formula since you can programmatically build references that way. So you're going to run option I to copy the individual cell addresses separated by line breaks. What that's going to look like, I'm actually going to use Notepad because it's more obvious here. So we're going to pull that over here. You see what it did. Here's all those cell references. We had the individual cells, not ranges, but individual cells, separating them by line break. Sometimes people have needed that, so that's what that's there for. If we want to copy the sheet name, notice how we're on the data sheet. Right? We're just going to click H. We'll put that somewhere else. There's data. Sometimes you just need the sheet name because you're making a list or building a reference or whatever you're doing. Now the next one, I mentioned earlier how you can't really leverage the double clicking of the format painter, and not, at least not this way. So what we can do, let's say we're going to set this as the cell we want to leverage over and over again for formatting purposes. So we're going to click option A here for setting the format range. What that's going to do is it's going to put that in a variable somewhere so that you can use it later. Now, what we can do is with the paste value picker, we're going to cover that in a separate video in support page. That's Control-Shift-V is the default. Notice how we have option P. So we want to apply that format range. We click P and it applies it. And we can pick that over and over again if we wanted to. Right? So it's going to leverage that. Now, very similar to that, we have a macro called Set Copy Sheets, or an option, sorry, in the Copy Special Picker. That is option E here. So let's say we want to copy this data sheet to another sheet in this file or another file. Click option E and it will put that in a variable. So if we want to duplicate that, let's say we want to put it at the end of the workbook, we're going to again run the Paste Special Picker, Control-Shift-V, and that's going to be option Z to paste sheets. And it references the macros between each other so that you know where it's going to come from or what it needs to go to. So if we click Z here on the Paste Special Picker, it tells us, hey, you know, there's already a sheet here named that. So if you want to add, you know, if you want to paste anyway, that's fine. It'll add the 2 or 3 like it does when you copy it the long way. Or if we want to go into a new file, we can do the same thing. Run the Paste Special Picker, apply Z, paste that as many times as we want, right? So see how it adds that same sheet into another file if you wanted to do that. Now, if you just want to duplicate the sheet, let's say we have this one, we want to duplicate it. That is option U here. You can optionally rename it with a space and then data XYZ if you wanted to. It'll duplicate it and it will rename it right after the one that it's duplicating. So that might be the quicker way to copy and paste it. Now, sometimes you want to copy the entire file. Maybe you want to put that in a different folder. Maybe you want to put it in an email or something. So that is option W for workbook. It will literally take this workbook and copy it to your clipboard. So if you want to put it in an email like I'm going to do right here, right? Just click Control-V as the shortcut for pasting, and it attaches it. So you can do that over and over again, several different emails, or put it wherever you want. I find that's a much quicker way to copy entire workbooks. Now, just like that, let's say we want to create a shortcut to this workbook, and we want to copy that into some other folder. That way we can reference it, but not get crazy with version control. That is option Q. Okay, so very similar, but instead of pasting the whole thing, it's going to create a shortcut, right? And depending on your settings, and on my computer that actually blocked it because of the administrator settings are in place, so you might want to check some of those out, but it would put a shortcut in the clipboard. It would attach it here if I was going to paste it. Now lastly is option B. This is called the bulk copy paste macro. Now what that's going to do is run the bulk copy paste macro. It's going to create a settings sheet if it does not find this exact sheet in your active workbook, and then you can follow the instructions. Now that one's going to be covered in a separate video because it is pretty specific as to what it does. Pretty cool stuff. It lets you copy and paste over and over again from different ranges to different workbooks. So if you're doing a lot of that, structurally things that are repetitive, that could be really helpful. But for now, that's everything in the Copy Special Picker. So hopefully you saw some things that are going to be really helpful, especially copying the sum of those values you've selected. I find that really helpful myself. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Have a great day.